Hi everybody. Quick video today just about one simple idea that I found to be one of the most helpful ideas I ever learned. I learned it from a classical piano teacher a few years ago. It's very simple but very, very helpful. The idea is that if you're learning a piece of music, I'm not talking now about improvising, or I'm not talking about playing a simple pop tune, a simple melody. But if you're learning something like a classical guitar piece, which is what I'm working on here, Bourrée in E minor by J.S. Bach, and if you're finding it difficult, this is a really helpful approach, which is learn the piece from the end. So in other words, go to the last measure and just, well, in this case there's a repeat, but I'm looking at the sheet music here. And the very last measure is something simple. It's just, then it would send you back to the beginning of the piece. So that the literal last measure is just, okay. So I did that a few times. It's easy. Then the technique is you then back up one measure from the ending measure. So I'm now at the second to last measure, or the penultimate, good word, penultimate measure. Here's what this is. And then again, if you were going to go back and repeat, you'd continue. After you've got, okay, I'm not going to bother with the repeat. Let's just make believe we're doing the final ending right there. I'm going to back up one more measure now. I'm going to go third from the final measure. A little nearsighted, I'm having a hard time seeing it, but it's, okay. So I worked on those three, and you say, okay, well, let me try it again. Let me make sure I really have it. Let me get really used to it. The thing about this is it gets a little monotonous because you wind up repeating the last few measures like a whole lot of times. And then if you keep at it, you wind up repeating the second of two pages here many, many times. But that's the beauty of it, because just by the nature of learning a piece, you tend to start at the beginning, just like you do when you're in school reading a book, or you're reading a novel, you're reading a magazine, you're looking at a newspaper. You often tend to start at the beginning. And then in music, what happens is the third measure, you have a mistake. Oh, that's really hard. I didn't get that note. Oh, let me go back and start again. I missed it again. Let me go back again and start. So what happens is you realize that you practice the first measure, the first two measures, the first three measures, like far more times than you do the final few measures. So what this does is it reverses the whole thing. And what happens is when you really put in the time and you do this approach of starting at the last measure, then getting the last two measures, then working on the last three measures, then the last four, the last five, etc., you find that as you go through the piece, you're almost more familiar with, the further you go into the piece, the more confident and secure you are in playing it. So anyway, I don't know if you get it. You kind of have to try it to get the value of it. If you're just talking about it and thinking about it, it probably doesn't make too much sense. But I'm going to back up one more measure now. Let me see if it works. I'm a little hesitant there, so I would need to do it again. I was a little hesitant in that latest measure that I tried. Okay, so what you do is you work your way backwards all the way through the piece. And what really made me think of mentioning it today is yesterday I was watching a video of someone showing you how to play, or how to start to play, the Bourrée in E minor by J.S. Bach. And he casually mentioned in his intro that, most students don't have a really hard time with the first page, the beginning of it. They tend to have a much harder time with the second page, not only because it's more demanding and more complex, but because it's under-rehearsed, and that's actually what he said, it's under-rehearsed. So this turns the whole thing on its head. And if anything, what's going to be under-rehearsed is the first page, which is easier anyway, and which most people have heard, the beginning. In fact, I just messed it up, but guitar players have heard that, even if only from maybe Jimmy Page in the 60s or 70s. Anyway, it's just a tip. start at the end of a complex piece, and this pertains to any instrument. When I was doing a little classical piano with that teacher that I mentioned, it worked like a charm. You know, go learn the last measure. You got it? Okay. Last two measures. Got it? Fine. Work on the last three. Oh, it's difficult? Keep doing it. Do it 10 times. You got the last three? Do the last four. Simple idea, extremely valuable to me on a personal level. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. And keep practicing, enjoy playing, have fun with music. Okay, bye-bye.